Please subscribe to help you and your motorcycle perform better.
Dave Williams, editor here with today's video, finishing up our travels at the Petrified Forest National Park. Now here, the trees have become stone. Here's one right here. This thing used to be a tree. Now it's a rock. Is that not crazy? It was a tree, and then, because of Neanderthal-made climate change, it became a rock. Go figure. In today's video, we've got Ducati Hypermotard SPs. One that a guy races, and Dave is tuning him, so if you're an aggressive rider, this could be helpful for you. And a guy who showed up with perfectly set up suspension.
My name is Dave Moss. I tune approximately 3,500 bikes per year. This is 2 Clicks Out.
Now steal the microphone master.
I brake fast, so I didn't go full speed.
Okay, so on this next run, ride it, see how quick it turns, come into the hot pit, stop, this black dial for compression here, take that dial and move it 3 clicks clockwise. So what we're doing then is making the shock stiffer. You can see where we've got to right now on this, how much travel we're using. So when it's not an issue that we're bottomed out, we've got plenty of room left on travel, so don't clean the shock. As you come in, look at this and see where it is. If going faster, it's down to the bottom, then we're using all the shock travel and the geometry change in the tire is negated, right? Because you're compressing and using all the travel. In that case, that dial goes 3 clicks to the back of the bike. Go back out, finish the session, then come back.
Can you try? I think I only have one, and I only have 2 left, I think.
You're correct, you only have 2 left. Okay.
It's fine, I'm gonna try that.
So try this first, see, come in, stop after 5 laps, see how much travel you're using. If you're on bottom, add more. If you're fine, go back out, and then on turn in, specifically for 1, 6, and 10, does it overturn and you get oversteer. If that's the case, then we've got to do something here with geometry, or we can do something on the other side with the ride height rod and bring the back down and lower it in the back. So we've got a couple of choices there. Lowering the rear makes more sense, or adding more preload. Especially if you're bottomed out, we've got to add more spring tension. That's going to make it ride even higher. So at that point, we'll have to see about lowering the shock. All right?
Right.
Okay.
What model and year is it?
Ducati Hypermotard.
Morning. How are you?
What do you recommend for pressures today on the Dunlop MTEX?
Off the warmest 20 rear.
20 rear?
And 32 to 34 front, depending which group you're in.
A.
34.
34?
Yeah.
34 to 20. Okay.
After 45 minutes.
Okay. And then, quick question, because then I just bought a set from ProJ's, and it has the dual temp settings.
Yep.
Does it matter if you do low or high?
So you put them on high for
Right.
the first blast in the morning.
Okay.
Right? And then you switch them to wipe the tires off completely.
Right.
Put them on, stretch them, make sure they're nice and snug, and then
Right.
put them on low.
Okay. Okay.
When B plus goes out, if you're in A, then you ping them to high.
Okay.
Because you'll get 15-minute incremental temp increase.
Right.
So at that point, then unplug them, take them off.
Okay.
Reset them to low, put them back on. The tire keeps its heat, doesn't cool right off, and the low temp still keeps it hot.
Okay.
And you just want a quick blast to make sure the entire carcass is hot.
Okay, excellent. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
So that guy's what was that? It was 2012 Ducati what?
Hypermotard.
Was it like a 7 or a 9?
I think his is a 900. Andreas races it in AFM. So he's done a ton of work to that with geometry, ride chassis geometry, rear ride height, swing arm angle, and he just changed the tire from a 180/55 to a 180/60. So there's a circumference increase. At that point, he's using all but probably looking at it about 8 millimeters of shock travel. Given that, and it was super slow session, Go back out, ride, go for 5 laps, really focus. Get into it for 2 of those 5 laps because you need the time for the wheel to warm up, and stop, see where the shock travel is. If he's right at the same amount, the diameter increase in the rear has shifted enough weight forward that he should experience oversteer. So giving in those corners to work in will tell him as he approaches the corner and touches the bar, does it drop right in? And if it drops right in, then we have to either lower the rear ride height because it's too far forward, or bring the front end up, which will raise the engine height, which might make the bike too flickable. So we're going to try one or the other, and lowering the rear ride height makes sense because there's bigger tire, less weight on the seat, less shock travel. On the oversteer, as the session went on, did it get worse?
It was okay. I just need to get used to it.
Okay. If you let go of the brakes, the steering line doesn't change at all. If you're trail braking, you release, it stays on line. Okay, because if it was too steep, it would actually then tighten. So when you're using the throttle and then you're braking, let go at your normal brake point, if it stays on line, the geometry is not an issue. It's only going to be an issue if you find that your hands are tight for the whole session, that you're not calibrating to it. It's too much to get used to. So the other part was, did you bottom the shock, right? Yep. So you used all of it. And that's why it didn't feel too different. Did you change the compression setting? And you still used all of it. So, for whatever reason today you're riding faster. So that means we need to put at least a half a turn of preload in to stop you smashing against the bumper. So we'll see if that, again, give it 4 or 5 laps to heat up. And then as you trail brake and release, make sure it doesn't oversteer. Okay, more preload. So half a turn more. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Because there's 12 castle nuts, so that's half a turn. All right, all yours, Andreas. Yes, sir. How did that go?
Okay.
So, anywhere where you're over managing the bike at this point, or can you let go of it and just focus on what you need to do?
Maybe in turn 1, but I think it's me. I think I'm hanging on the handlebar with the left arm.
Okay, so then isolate that, give it 3 laps to warm up, and then see if you can initiate with an open palm. Because you don't need to shift. Once the downshift is done, open your fingers up and then see what it takes. And if there's sustained pressure, then yeah, it's too far on its nose given the height change. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. You're about 1 millimeter above the bumper now. There's a tiny black line, so that's good. Mm-hmm. So we're not using all the shock and we're not smacking into the bumper. So as far as that goes, that's fine. It's just starting to ball up. So as the track's warming up, the tire temp's coming along, so that's fine. It's still too rough in here because of compression, but we don't have a choice because you're mowing through this travel. So at this point, let's see what that does in terms of the front first with the hand. And if it's no problem and it's easy to get in, that's fine. It is stiff in the front compared to where you usually put that. That's usually down around the 30 mil mark. So the bike is riding, at the present, given how you're riding it, it's riding higher than normal in the stroke, which is why you may not be feeling any oversteer. Any reason?
Just because last time on the West track, it turned out to be better not to use all the treble.
Okay.
I had a better feeling in the braking zone.
And that's what matters.
That's why I kept it for now to see if it works. Otherwise, I'm gonna go backwards again.
Yep, fair enough. All yours, Andreas. Thank you. Okay. All good? You don't want to change anything?
No.
Zip tie's back to where it always has been, so that's good.
Yeah. So I rode open palm and went fine.
Okay.
Exactly where I wanted the bike to be. So it just was myself probably pulling on the handlebar a little bit. And the rest of the track is fine too.
Okay, so let's leave it as is. Let's see if the rear tire cleaned up on that rough patch. Yeah, it's nowhere near as rough now. So it's a lot smoother through there. So, good job, well done.
Yeah, whenever you have a chance. Can you have a quick look at my foot?
Yes.
Right foot there? You remember my email that I said like it's leaking? Not from the steel?
So that's good, yeah, and it's just a little bit of a dribble there. So the other thing about if you get oil here, if forks have been serviced, sometimes oil gets in there and sits in there, and then as the braking heat comes into the fork, it expands and bubbles over. So if you go over to Dunlop, he's got a high pressure airline, blow all that out and wipe it down. If there's any residual oil or fluid of any kind in there, that'll be gone. Then when you go out, if it's perfectly dry, that was the issue, it was stored fluid in the threads. And those threads, realistically, before you get to the Loctite, there are about 2 or 3 threads that are wide open. So it stores a surprising amount of fluid. So have Jason blow it out, clean it all off, or Jose. He'll have an air hose as well. And then wipe it dry, and then if it stays dry, that was the issue. You had stored fluid, and the O-ring's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, game on. You need a bigger wrench?
Socket.
A what socket?
1 1/16.
Well, the socket box is right in front of the microwave.
How you doing, Dave?
All right, yourself? Take a seat.
So what bike is it?
It's a Hypermotard.
What year?
It's a 16.
16.
A 939 or what?
939, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So first of all, I came from San Diego. A lot of my friends are big fans of you, so really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I've had my bike tuned before, but I want to get your opinion on how it is. Obviously, I'm not pushing very hard. This is my first time here, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
When were the Andriani cartridges installed?
Oh, recently. I've only had one track day on it, so maybe a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, off you get. I'm clear. So you're at 45 in the front and 50 in the rear. So you're slightly softer in the back,
Okay.
which
Stock
is
shock.
great for wheelies.
Yeah.
The other thing is the stock shock has an extremely progressive spring.
Right.
So when I push down, these coils will almost touch each other, right?
Yeah.
So because of the nature of this spring here, that's why the sag number in the rear is so big.
Yeah.
But once those coils touch each other, the spring ramps up quickly and gets stiffer.
Right.
You can see the little grease line in there that you're not using all your travel. So the setup, even though the maths is whoa, the reality is your amount of travel you're using is perfect.
Yeah.
So sag front and rear is fine.
Okay, cool.
So that's the good part of the setup.
Yeah.
The next piece is, because there's no compression on this shock, there's just rebound, is the fact whether it jumps or it doesn't jump. And the setup in the back of the bike is excellent.
Okay, cool.
Then the front should do the same, right? Perfectly balanced. Travels 3/4. You have a very well set up bike.
Thanks a lot.
You bet. Go have fun out there.
Thank
Keep
you.
track of your tire temperature.
Okay, recommendations?
It ain't broke, don't fix
Okay,
it.
cool.
So whatever you put it at this morning is working fine just now.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Dave.
You're very welcome.
Schedule a remote tuning appointment for you and your bike with Dave via text, email, Facebook, etc. Contact Dave on Facebook or by email, dave@davemosstuning.com.